Good evening. This is Crash Talk. I'm Mike Harber, your host, and we've got another exciting episode tonight. I hope you feel the same. So let's get right to it. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm a public adjuster. We should probably explain what a public adjuster is one of these evenings. So if you need legal advice, you need to seek that from an attorney. My guest tonight is an attorney. In an interesting past, I met this gentleman when we did the original Crash Talk on Progressive Talk Radio. And I've had people ask, is he still around and could you get him back on the show? So I called him and he was more than willing. So let me introduce my guest tonight, Montie Day. Has been practicing law, has an amazing background, and I had to ask him about that. So let's just get right to the show. Good evening, Montie. It's good to have you on the show.
Hello, good to be here again.
It's been a long time, and we've never really ever met face to face. You were one of my favorite guests on the show when we were on Progressive Talk Radio. That was a few years ago. And so for people that don't know who you are, you've got a fascinating background. So could you just give us the Reader's Digest version of kind of what you've learned and where you've been and some of the dirt you've uncovered?
Well, I'll give you a little bit about where I started from. I started out of a lumber camp in the Ozarks, up above Fresno, a little town called Clovis. Played football to get my education. That was after my dad died, and wound up Fresno State. Made All-American my junior year. Chicago Bears drafted me in the 9th round my junior year. Played a couple of years of professional football, but I did the football to get my education, and I did a major in accounting. Well, after I quit playing football, after the 2 years, I realized I didn't like accounting. And so I went to work for the Internal Revenue Service as a revenue agent. Did that for a couple of years and decided that wasn't fascinating enough. I went with the criminal division of the IRS, doing criminal investigations. I wound up volunteering one of 20 agents to go to New York City and work with a guy named Carlo Gambino, which you may have heard of him, the Gambino family. Was there 2 years. Made some cases against organized crime. It was quite an exciting life for me. Yeah. I got out of there after I testified before a grand jury. They actually arrested some of the agents I was working with for bribery. But the thing was, then I went back to San Francisco, and because of my reputation, I was getting cases that were tough cases. But I went back to law school at night, still doing that kind of work 50 hours a week. Got my law degree. I got my law degree. I figured, well, I go to work at the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they explained to me that you had to have 5 years with the Department of Justice before they'd hire you. I then explained I thought I could do anything they wanted me to. Give the guy my resume. The U.S. Attorney asked for it. About a year later, I was specially appointed by John Mitchell as a special prosecutor for the United States. The special assistant U.S. attorney now. I didn't work for the Department of Justice. I still was working for Treasury Intelligence, but representing the federal government in cases throughout Western United States, mainly in San Francisco, but some other states as well. Did that for a year and decided I'd leave because I thought I could do better on the outside. I wound up working a lot of cases that had a lot of intrigue to it with very bad guys. But the bottom line of it is, I did that. And I did that for a number of years, nailed the IRS for forging checks. Tom Brokaw did a special on that. It was on Nightline one time. But about 15 years ago, I got interested in the insurance industry. And my question was, why is there so much fraud in the used car industry? And when I laid up back and started doing my investigation, I found out it's because the insurance industry, and this might come as a surprise, will tell people, they'll actually hire attorneys to tell people that on the diminished value, you want to be paid for your loss. The way you do it is we repair the car, you sell it to somebody and not tell them it was in an accident. That's solicitation of a crime. And I got letters from attorneys that state that, hired by the insurance company, who sell the car and not tell them there's been an accident. As I develop this on down the line, I keep on developing new ideas and documenting this stuff. And I've come a long way from the last 15 years. I got the California Supreme Court that changed the jury instruction that was wrong since 2003. That one says that they either repair your car or pay the loss of value. They can do whatever they want to, if we know. That's wrong, because when the car is repaired, it still has a loss of value. And that's still a damage. And so California Supreme Court in 2016 adopted my jury instruction that says if the car is repaired, the damages is the repair cost plus the diminished value. Now, of course, the insurance companies didn't like that.
So you actually got the jury instructions changed in California?
Yes, I did. I had one. I think I've had about 3 or 4 changes in it right now. In the California Supreme Court, what they call the Judicial Council, they've rewritten the instruction that actually adopted my language in it.
Really?
Well, and the last one, the insurance company doesn't quite see that's one coming, that it's the definition of fair market value, and that's been around for 15 years, since 2015 as well, but I got it corrected now where it's fair market value, as California Supreme Court said, that the fair market value is what a willing buyer and a willing seller would exchange the property for, both fully informed of the quality and condition. That's not reasonable. When you buy a used car, you're not fully informed of it. Even when you buy a new car, you may not be fully informed as to what the true condition is. Mm-hmm. People buy and sell cars based upon reasonable knowledge. And they changed that. And they adopted that in November 2019. The fair market value reflects the actual law, by the way, that it's reasonable knowledge, which means the average consumer, the way you determine fair market value is what a reasonable person would believe. Would I buy a car that's been damaged? Probably not, especially when in California, on changing that jury instruction, I pointed out to the Supreme Court that as a result of what the insurance company was doing, there was as many as 300 to 1,000 people a year killed in California alone.
What?
Yeah.
Is that I read that in
true. Yeah.
They can tie that to a bad repair?
Sure. Let me take a case, the San Diego case. Young couple. By the way, these cars are sold as certified used cars, which don't mean anything. Certified. Well, I think we covered that once before.
Well, we're going to get to that a little bit later. Maybe we have to be in a different session because you sent me a photograph, and I want you to explain that because that's pretty graphic.
Oh, you like that photograph?
Oh yeah.
Okay, young couple in San Diego purchased a car. They bought it as a certified used car. On the way home, it malfunctioned. It crashed. It killed their 14-year-old kid. Now, that car was repaired by an insurance company. A certified used car means that they only repair it if you bring it back. I mean, they don't fix the kid.
Right.
But wound up killing a 14-year-old kid. And in California alone, between 300 and 1,000 people a year are killed a year. Now, I did a case in 2010 in California, which was typical, where the insurance company paid around $28,000 to repair a car that was only worth $40,000 to start with. After it's repaired, it was only worth $16,000. Well, wait a minute. The guy purchased insurance to pay for the loss. He starts out with a $40,000 car, and they wind up paying $28,000 or so to repair it. But he winds up at the end of the day with a car that's worth $16,000. And I got a jury verdict awarding him the $24,000 loss, diminished value, notwithstanding that they repaired it and paid that. And actually, a finding of the jury that there was bad faith on the part of the insurance companies, which could have subject them to punitive damages. So,
wow.
So that's what got me really going. But it was because of all the confusion. That's why I went up to the Supreme Court jury instructions, because they said they could do it, and that's why I got that changed.
Huh. Wow, that's pretty amazing. So, but I'm still kind of stumped on this whole thing. 300 to 1,000 people a year dies. Can you?
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
that's.
I based that on a study that was out of Florida that was actually done. You got to remember that I don't understand the insurance industry for one thing. 60 Minutes did a special television program on cars that had been repaired. They were killing people up to 30 miles an hour to get in an accident. One of the things about it is your crumple zones and computers, everything operates off the compression of the metal compressing together, including the computers. The computers have to operate within 3 milliseconds, two of them. Like Mercedes got two of them in the front. They got to communicate within 3 millionths of a second to deploy the airbag. So when you damage it, stress the metal, and or even bend the metal at all, then that computer airbag will not deploy in most of the times. And the death rate is about 4 times higher if a car's been in an accident, even though it's been repaired back to its original condition. Now, I did my research. The only really research that was done on it was out of Florida, and I got the Florida study, and from that used the population basis for Florida versus the United States versus California, and that's why I come up between 300 and 1,000 people a year getting killed. Now, would you purchase if I was to tell you that I got the car company said, well, bring it back, we'll fix it if it doesn't work. Mike, I got a parachute, and it's a new one, but it's been torn, but we fixed it. But let me tell you something. You jump out of the airplane, and if it doesn't open up, bring it back and I'll fix it. Would you do it?
No, I've never heard that. I've never heard that analogy. That's great. No,
No, that's true.
I want a brand new parachute. I don't want one that's been fixed.
Well, wow. We'll fix it. We guarantee it. In fact, I'll even certify I'll fix it.
Monty, I can't help it. It almost tickles me to hear you talking about the things that you're talking about. You're an attorney. Usually these kind of conversations are from the guys that are out there fixing cars, that understand the significance of these timing, the airbags and crumple zones. And for you to be able to understand that in a way that you just described is pretty amazing. And I've never heard the analogy of a parachute, but I will never forget that one.
Oh, good. There's just so many things that I've come up with, and I've done so much research in the last 15 years. The fact that they use the Montie appraisals. The first time I run across it was down in LA, a big company down there was doing appraisals. And I looked at the appraisal report done by the insurance company's independent, we call them independent appraiser. Big one does it for all states, State Farm. This happened to all states. I said, wait a minute, this isn't right. This is written by insurance company attorneys. It's not an appraisal. And so I went back and investigated. I do things different. I investigated the guy that had that company. 35 years old, come from Canada, degree in business, has a master's degree. Wrote an article for his newspaper, school paper in Canada, University of Montreal, that he'd found his niche in the United States writing bulletproof reports for insurance companies, bragging about it. I don't stop. I continue on. I find he's a photographer. Oh, that's interesting. Then I kept on going, and I find he was advertising for young models, females. And I found back to a website where I found the new girls. And so I go up to, this is funny, I go up to Oakland, we're in arbitration court. I filed a motion that he should not testify as to the damage to automobile bodies. But while he's an expert on bodies, it's got nothing to do with cars, and I attached some pictures of some girlies to it. They immediately pulled me out. We settled the case. The name was changed for the girly business, and he's still there.
He's still there?
Oh yeah, and then the other one that's sort of funny is Farmers and Wawanesa, a couple of big insurance companies, using a guy in Oakland, 80 years old. I did his deposition. This is all transcribed. That's why I could talk about it. At the deposition, got to the end of it, his report was totally phony. Get to the end of it, I said, look, well, you're 80 years old. And at 80 years old, I got a photograph. I think maybe you when you were 75. And I held it up. 8x12 photograph. I said, is this you? And he said, yeah. And I said, that's a police mugshot, correct? He said, yeah. I said, well, let me show you another one. I showed him another one. He identified himself. I said, that's from www.meganslaw.com for having sex with young children under the age of 14 and videotaping 5 years ago. When the insurance companies hire you to write these reports that you do, like Farmers or Wawanesa, do they ask you about your criminal background? He says, no. They don't care. I said, if you ask them, would you tell them? He said, I'd tell them they don't care. They'll tell me they'll keep it out of court and away from the public. So no, I've done a lot. I don't know whether you want to use that or not on your claim, but
well, let's do this. Let's do this, Mike. There's a couple things that you sent me, and we don't really have enough time tonight. But,
sure.
But could we? I would like to hear your explanation, especially, and you've got a couple theories on some things that we've discussed that I think would be really interesting for the public to hear. But let's get people to come back, and so maybe we can get together. We'll do this again next week. So with that, thank you so much for being here today, Montie.
We'll talk later.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, real good. Okay.
I told you he was interesting. Football player, IRS agent, just wow. We could certainly just sit and talk all night with Montie and some of his theories and some of the things he's been involved in. But let us know if you enjoyed. If you'd like to hear more from Montie, maybe we could coerce him to come back. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the show. If you didn't, give us a thumbs down. Comments, let us know. Subscribe. That lets us know if we've got any kind of a following, if people are interested in this type of content. So with that, wear your mask. Keep your distance. Stay safe. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Good night.